Hi Cancers, how are you? Welcome to your November reading. Sorry it's super late. I'd been sick. First card out. We're gonna do that's the first card out because these other ones are kind of mischievous. So the first card out, Six of Wands, yay. So I feel a lot of you are feeling sort of on top of your world, on top of your game, in charge, you know, in your own world. Also the Nine of Cups at the bottom. So, and I did your reading a couple nights ago, and then I was gonna like crash, like I was crashing and burning at that point. So I stopped, and it was feeling kind of like a bit confusing as well, but similar energy, like coming out first, feeling like you're on top of your game. A lot of you might be really sort of feeling very okay being alone, being by yourself. That there's this kind of feeling of I feel independent. I'm not codependent on anybody. I'm not depending on anybody. No one's really depending on me, and I'm actually really enjoying this right now. But let's see what else is going to come out as we go along. But yeah, I've been sick the last couple of weeks, and I'm finally feeling like 100% myself. And like I said, I tried shooting your video while I was sort of still feeling ill, and it just wasn't happening. My Cancer moon wasn't, it was just like, go to sleep, like, go, you're not feeling this right now. Okay, Three of Cups. Okay. So I do sense that while there is this, like, you know, I'm independent, I'm doing my own thing, like, I'm really enjoying it, like, I've got, like, I have, like, there's a lot of focus on friendship and community and not so much on partnering up. I feel there's still some stuff that, like, we're, like, kind of feeling a little bit off balance on, or, you know, maybe it's, like, the recognition that, like, yes, I'm here, but, like, it's also a work in progress, right? Like, it's also a work in progress. It's also continuously, you know, being met with challenges, and that from day to day, like, I really enjoy being sort of on my own and being single, or being, you know, doing my own thing, and then I kind of revert back to, like, you know, struggling a little bit with that sense of, you know, mistaking your independence for being alone. You're not alone. You're not alone whatsoever. So let's see what else is coming up. Okay, Two of Swords, Five of Swords. What's going on in the mind? Got some mental activity going on. And Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords. Are y'all hanging out with a lot of air signs lately? Are you and we talked about this before, haven't we? I think in another reading, maybe a couple of months ago, where I felt that a lot of water signs in general were kind of having a hard time, you know, grasping the sensitivities and the underlying sort of emotional currents that occur when you're a water sign, right? Or that when you have a lot of water in your chart, or even just a water moon. But like the sensitivities and, like, the amount that you can feel can be a little bit overwhelming and burdensome. And that, you know, I know that I've definitely done this. I'm a Cancer moon, where I look at, you know, like, I'll look at an Aries moon and be like, why can't I just be like that? Like, why can't I just, like, give zero fucks? Like, why? And that there's this desire to kind of want to take on the other sort of qualities or characteristics of the other elements in order to kind of ignore the fact that, like, I have all of this water coursing through me at all times, and it makes me feel some type of way, and I just want to, like, shut it down. So now I'm seeing a lot of air, so I feel like a lot of you all, while you are feeling, right, really on top of your game, really sort of like powerful, kind of like a fire sign, right? This is the Wands, suit of Wands, and a lot of you are feeling really independent and feeling like, you know, you've conquered a lot, you've had to overcome a lot in the past, and you're standing on your own 2 feet. There's no, like, I really get this vibe that this is about you sort of riding into town on your horse by yourself. And meanwhile, you know, there's happiness, there's happy emotions here, because the 3 of Cups to me indicates, you know, coming together, joy, celebration, friendship, gathering, things of that nature, right? So there is a lot of joy that's happening around you. But then I feel like we're now moving into like, there's like this kind of internal struggle, this internal battle. And you did have the Taurus full moon, which, sorry, we missed, but you know, we'll talk about the new moon, because that's going to be happening in your 5th house. But the full moon happened in your 11th, because you got Taurus in your 11th house. And 11th house is the house of friendship and organizations and benefactors and community and hopes and dreams and our wishes and all those things. Sorry, I still had some food in my mouth. And so you had the full moon there. So there was an ending, a culmination, or a death or a rebirth sort of occurring in that house for you. But I do want to get more clarity, because the reading starts out really beautiful, and now we're going into sort of like a stalemate. And I feel like some of you all, like, you're wanting to maintain this sense of feeling like, because the 6 of Wands, yes, it is a card of victory, but it's also kind of temporary, because as soon as we move to the 7 of Wands, it's like now this person is struggling to stay on top. So I feel that a lot of you, while there has been some victory and some celebration, and I feel like a lot of this has, and let's clarify the 6 of Wands to figure out what exactly does the 6 of Wands signify for Cancer. Can you clarify the 6 of Wands for me, please? Why is the 6 of Wands here for Cancer? Okay. The Hermit, yeah. So what I was saying before was that I feel that a lot of you are getting comfortable sort of being in this energy, that you've sort of conquered or feel victorious in the fact that you're like, wow, like, I'm okay being alone, or I'm okay sort of being with my own solitude. I am okay in the company of myself, because the Hermit enjoys the company of himself because he recognizes the light within him, right? The Hermit is absolutely content being alone and sort of seeking wisdom and guidance in that space of being alone, right? This is number 9. This is like 9th house activity, right? Wisdom, higher learning, higher understanding, spiritual practice, spiritual beliefs. And so the Hermit's okay being in the company of himself because he recognizes the light before him, right? This light recognizes the internal light, or represents the internal light, right? Of wisdom, inner knowing, highest self. And so I feel that a lot of you have really sort of done a lot of work, right? And y'all are also the Crab. And so there is this sense that emotionally, and that for your own sort of well-being, there needs to be a period of retreat. There needs to be a period of going into the crab shell and, you know, being with yourself, right? Like, I just moved, like, I'm a Cancer moon, and it was very important to me. Like, I just moved to this new place, and it was very important to me. I've lived with roommates. I'm an Aquarius sun. I've always lived in community settings, co-ops, yada, 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 all of the above. But it was very important for me to recognize, like, you actually need a crab shell. Like, you need to be able to come home to a place where you can be loud, you can do whatever you want, you can walk around naked, like, you can do whatever you want in this space. And so I feel like a lot of you have been doing that either physically in the home or metaphorically by, like, kind of creating a mental space or an emotional space where you can go and be by yourself. And you're coming to really actually cherish and respect that. Because also as a Cancer, there is this need for us to have emotional connections and to feel close to people and to nurture and to be nurtured by. But I feel that a lot of you are actually seeking, like, y'all are seeking some, and this message is for a few of you, but there's been a few of you that have definitely been doing the work to sort of seek out, feeling nurtured from God or feeling nurtured from spirit as opposed to feeling nurtured from actual people. And you recognize that, like, I need to actually seek out the kind of love that I so badly want in humans, and I need to seek that out in sort of a spiritual, divine way. For those of you who are doing that, I definitely would suggest checking out poems from Rumi, because Rumi, they're all love poems, but they're all love poems to God, right? It's about how do I take this thing called love, right? This romantic love that I so badly want to experience with another human being. But what it really is about is like, how do I have that same devotion, or how do I first have that devotion for my highest self and for God or source or whatever it is you might believe in, right? Like, how can I have that same devotion? How can I nurture this relationship between me and a higher power? So that was a specific message for a few of you who I feel have been doing that work, and you're succeeding, right? You're doing the work, but it's not without, and right, like there's definitely reason to kind of celebrate, and there's definitely reason to feel, really proud of yourself, because this is a ceremony where people are proud of each other. There's pride here, there's joy, there's celebration and love, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that we're still in human bodies and we get caught up in the mind too, right? We have 2 of Swords, 5 of Swords, Knight of Swords. So it's like it kind of grows. The harshness of these Swords cards kind of develops. Like, first you kind of start out, in this recognition that, like, I'm still a human in this body, and I still have a mind with a very active, sort of imagination and storytelling, right? And that all the stories that we can kind of build and create for ourselves that, kind of actually throw us off this course. But that's part of the fun. That's part of, like, the back and forth of, like, the spiritual. Your reading feels very spiritual to me in nature. Like, a lot of you are doing, like, heavy duty spiritual work or meditation or practices of those kind, and you're kind of in this zone where you're like, I'm here and I'm meditating every day and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and then I like feel like you take like 10 steps backwards, and then you're like back, back in the mind, back in the ego, like, but that's part of the fun, is the ebb and flow of, like, stepping into it and stepping out and stepping in and stepping out. At least for me, that's what it's about, because I'm still a human, you know what I mean? Like, I still have an ego, I still have a confused mind, I still have all of these things that, aren't, okay, so now the Swords energy is sort of calming down. Now it's calming down. Now we have the 4 of Swords, so... But I feel that this 5 of Swords is here underneath the 6 of Wands and the Hermit, because there is this sort of desire. When this card comes up for me, it's like both of these people are fighting to stay on top. One person is using sort of integrous means that, like, this person is actually fighting a good fight. This person is actually doing what they need to in a very integrous way to kind of stay on top, right? They're not cheating. If anything, they've got the odds against them, and they're just going for it. They're fighting with courage. They're fighting with valor. They're showing up. They're not, they're not being cowardice, right? And then I feel like there's just this kind of like, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this battle. And for those of you who this may not be such a spiritually inclined situation, that it just feels like a lot of you have gotten really comfortable or feeling a lot more comfortable in your own solitude, in your own crab shell, in your own world, so to speak, right? Instead of feeling like you have to go into the worlds of other people and nurture them and give and give and give and get nothing in return, right? But a lot of you have been like, like a lot of Cancers that I met this time last year, were talking about really needing to be in solitude. Even though they knew that it was going to be hard for them, a lot of Cancers were like, I just need to be in solitude. I'm enjoying being solitary right now. And I want to enjoy being solitary, and I want to come to actually appreciate it. And I feel that a lot of you have done that, right? And there's friendship, and there's, you know, there's a lot that you're able to kind of be happy for as a result of being here. But there still is this pull, this nag inside of you to kind of keep that sense of independence alive, right? Like that sense of independence, you feel like you have to really hold on to it, because water sign, not that water signs aren't independent. You can be independent regardless of what sign you are or who you are. Like, independence is something that's also kind of learned as we go throughout our lifetime. But yes, different elements, different signs may be more inclined towards it, right? Like, I'm an Aquarius. I do enjoy being alone. I do enjoy kind of being on my own sort of time schedule and my own sort of agenda. I don't like to feel that I'm being kind of pushed and prodded in different ways. I'm not very good at that, right? And so, you know, water signs, Cancers, Scorpios, Pisces, you know, y'all are water. You're a little bit more mutable. You're a little bit more flexible. You're a little bit more go with the flow, you know, no pun intended, right? But it's like that there is this need for connecting with people in an emotional way that this hermit doesn't really do very often. This hermit doesn't go there, because this hermit goes there with themselves. But as water, especially as a Cancer, that's like something that you actually really crave, right? And it's a beautiful thing. It's a healthy thing, and we all need it. And just some people sometimes may need it more than others, right? You may be a Cancer that has a lot of Aries or Gemini in your chart, and that may not be your case. But nonetheless, you know, this is what I'm kind of gathering for what's happening with a lot of Cancer. So yeah, there is this sort of fight to kind of maintain this independence. You're like, I must maintain this right here. This is where the victory is, right? Being alone is where the victory is. But don't get too carried away with it, because I do see a lot of you kind of, you know, this is the Five of Swords, unlike the Seven of Wands, where this person is fighting the good fight and is showing up in courage and bravery and all the above. This Five of Swords, this person has won the battle, but has used disintegrous means, has used sort of backhanded methods that really doesn't speak to their highest self, right? Like, that really doesn't speak to, it's like we do this when we get desperate. We take the Five of Swords happens when we get desperate, right? And this could mean that some of you are like actively pushing people away. Let's get clarity on that. Why is the Five of Swords here for Cancer? I feel like there's something that y'all are running from. The Ace of Pentacles and the Emperor. So there is potentially a new work opportunity, or, you know, there's... Now I'm wondering if this Emperor is the one who's kind of doing this to you. You know, there could be somebody in your midst, this Emperor, who is very demanding. Could be an Aries, right? Because this is the card of Aries. Very demanding, very... trying to think of another word. I can't right now. This person is very demanding. And this person can be a bit abrasive and can be very dominating. Dominating is the word I was looking for. And it could be, you know, somebody who is trying to use who's trying to manipulate you financially. I feel that this Emperor might have been a previous lover or a boss or somebody in your life who obviously has a lot of power. Somebody in your life who obviously is high in ranking in your interpersonal sort of, you know, sphere of people or within your community, right? This Emperor dominates, right? And this Emperor I don't feel that this emperor really is enjoying the fact that you are kind of stepping into some newfound independence. And not just independence in the sense that, like, I can do everything alone, but it's like, I'm actually really content with myself. Like, I'm actually really in touch with my highest self right now. Like, it's a step above independence, almost. Like, you don't even need to use that word, because you can step in and out of unions as you please, right? And you're not so desperate for, like, my computer went to sleep. You're not so desperate for, like, other people's attention or energy or needing to nurture. Like, you're like, I'm actually feeling really good in my crab shell right now, but I don't feel that this emperor really likes it. And I feel that they're trying to use sort of financial, you know, maybe you're tied to this person financially, and they're trying to sort of use money as a way to kind of reel you back in. And vice versa, right? Like, this could also be you using sort of, like, just because you're independent now, or just because you have a sense of who you are and you feel like you don't need people, doesn't mean that we now get to, like, go and try and take advantage of people, which I don't think that's something that Cancers really do. So I'm kind of confused as to why that's coming up. But, right? And then this could also represent, so yeah, so for those of you who have somebody in your life who's very sort of demanding and dominant and prominent in your life, that they're having a hard time kind of grasping. It's like when somebody, you know, when you change or when you get better, when, you know, like, I used to work as a counselor at a treatment facility for drug addicts, and one of the patterns that I noticed was that, like, when I would work with a client and I would see them get better, or they would improve and they'd be working their steps and they'd actually be on a path of, like, staying clean and committing themselves to spiritual work, like, then I began to notice that their spouse or their partner or their family members who were also sick and affected by the disease of addiction, like, didn't like it very much, right? Like, because now it's like you can't no longer blame that person for why your life is shitty. Like, your life is just shitty now, right? So, like, that's another thing that came to mind, that dynamic of, like, when one person, if you're in a relationship or a one-on-one dynamic where you've been kind of not feeling so victorious, right, in the past, and now you're moving into that space, and other people around you might have a hard time accepting that because they're so used to you being a certain way, Cancer, and now you're not. And it's like you have to fight really hard to kind of maintain, like, I am not, like, what's that song that Drake says, like, I'm not Drake from 4 years ago. Like, don't talk to me as if I'm the same person that you were talking to 4 years ago. Like, I've changed, I've grown, I've got better game, like, I'm on it. Like, I can smell the wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Like, you're now trying to maintain, like, don't fuck with me. Like, don't, right? And I do feel that a lot of you have cut people out. Some of you have just kind of cut some friends out because you're like, these people can't respect the fact that, like, I'm now here. Like, I've progressed. I've grown. I see the value of what I have to offer, and it's not for everybody. So don't come like now it's like all of these wands, right? All of these energies are still coming after you, and you're like, no, like, I don't have to give you anything. I don't have to nurture you. I don't have to give you any attention. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z as I used to before the Six of Wands came about. Right? And as a result of that, a lot of you were like, get the fuck out. Bye. But some people don't really like that. Some people are coming for you. Some people are like, you've got some friends who are actually now like, all right, I guess, like, who were trying to use sneaky methods, right? To kind of get back into your good graces, or to get back into, your good graces, your generous nature, right? Giving, nurturing, letting people crash here, letting people stay there, giving people this money, like, you don't, like, this person is now kind of trying to financially kind of bamboozle you, I feel like. And this could also be you guys taking on this sort of nature of the Emperor and really kind of going overboard with it's like you went from the hermit to now being this Emperor. And you don't really mean to, right? Because this Emperor is harsh. And, like, I know for me as a Cancer moon, like, whenever I try to be harsh or whenever I try to, like, go there, it's so hard for me because I'm like, I can literally feel how I'm making this other person feel. Like, it's not, like, if I couldn't feel what I was doing to them, then I wouldn't care, but I literally can pick up on, this is, like, not cool. Like, whether or not they're willing to do it to me is none of my business. I can't do that to them. Like, it's like, I can't go there. Do you know what I mean? But and then you kind of step here and you go overboard, right? So maybe some of you are taking on the vibe of the Emperor because you're really trying to lock it down and you're really trying to stand in your power. But be mindful because this Emperor is really harsh, and Cancers can be harsh, but then you guys regret it immediately. Kind of like how Aries do. Aries tend to get harsh and then they regret it immediately because they're really just sweethearts at the end of the day. They're the babies of the zodiac, right? But it's like you all don't want to end up in a situation where you're being harsh and then you regret it, right? You know, this Knight of Swords, I again feel as people kind of rushing towards you and you're just kind of in this space of, I'm chilling. But let's get clarification. Why is the Knight of Swords here? No. Why is the Knight of Swords here? Why is the Knight of Swords here? Okay, the Hierophant. The Hierophant. Sorry for the long pause. The Hierophant has many different... Yeah, I feel... Because the Hierophant to me is definitely sort of like the established patterns or the established... our normal. Like the established normal that we've come to believe as the way to be, right? The way of life, kind of like how with organized religion, right? Like the Hierophant is that represents organized religion, social structure, society, how we've been organized and what we've come to believe is right and wrong in our society, right? What we put on a pedestal, so to speak. And so I feel like this represents your normal, your sort of established, what people have come to normatively and sort of socially accept you to be. And I feel that with this Knight of Swords being here, that there is this sort of desire to kind of cut away at that. That there is this desire to kind of come for this socially accepted way that you've had to be for so long, right? That you don't even really question it or think about it anymore. You just kind of wake up and sit up there and you're like, okay, this is just how I'm supposed to be. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. And yeah, and so for each of you, it's gonna be something different, right? It's gonna be a different normal, right? For one person, it's gonna look like being a pushover and you're tired of it because that's what people have come to kind of accept you as. For another person, it's going to be being a coward, and you're tired of that, hence why there's a lot of cards here that speak of battle and speak of showing up courageously. So yeah, I do feel that a lot of you are really trying to cut away, and a lot of the work is happening in the mind, like a lot of the focus is happening, like you're really trying to tackle this problem from a mental, psychological point of view, but don't forget that, like, it's also spiritual in nature. Like, there are spiritual practices that you can take on that actually go beyond and deeper than these swords. And I see y'all doing that. Like, this is a meditation card for me. This represents meditation. This represents seeking inner peace momentarily. I do want to get a card here for you all so we can get a better picture maybe at these two. Okay, Queen of Wands. Yeah. So for some of you, yes, this will be a new person coming in. Right? Somebody who recognizes your wands here. And I was like, well, I got wands too. Let's do this. And for others of you, I do feel this is kind of like a rebirth of like a new sense of being, right? Because this Queen of Wands, she's very kind, she's very nurturing. Excuse me. Still a little bit sick. She's very kind, she's very nurturing. But she'll cut you real quick. She'll let you know, like, I'm not the bitch for that. Like, I'm not the one for that. Take that somewhere else. Let's get clarification for the Queen of Wands. All right, Page of Pentacles. Yeah, once again, a new offer, a new sort of substantial love offer, potentially. You might meet them in the workplace. And they really value you and they really value themselves. And once again, this is you kind of also looking at this new sense of self-worth that you have, right? It's like this Hermit and this Page of Pentacles are both kind of looking at these parts of themselves that they're really beginning to really value. And I feel that this value, right, this inner light becomes a more tangible, everyday kind of experience for you. Because this feels more ethereal, right, and a little bit more abstract. And this feels a little bit more like, more tangible, more realistic. You can grab it every day, right? You don't have to go to these depths to feel good about yourself on a day-to-day basis. So let's get a outcome card for Cancer. Outcome for Cancer for November 2017. Outcome for Cancer for November 2017. Five of Wands. But to me, this actually represents you kind of coming together with this Queen of Wands, with your friends, right? Like, and I do sense that some of you are still going to continue to have to kind of push people away or like let people know, like, you can't treat me like this, and you're going to be fine. You're going to, like, you're learning the art of really self-asserting and, what's the word? Self-asserting. Oh God, I really want to use that. I'm at a loss of words the last couple of days. Advocate. Learning how to advocate for yourselves. It's an art form. It's not easy. Some people are born with the natural knack of it. Some people aren't. Some signs are more inclined towards it. Other signs are more inclined towards wanting to be in balance and harmony with other people instead of asserting their needs. So you're learning how to advocate for yourself. And I do see this as people kind of coming together also and sort of working with you. And there's a lot of creative work that's going on. I think this Queen of Wands is also going to bring about some tangible sort of creative projects that you can actually, you know, hold and taste and smell and touch and work with and put your hands on. Maybe some of you are going to be painting. Some of you are going to be dancing. Some of you are going to be really doing some earthy kind of creative work where the results you can touch and feel. It's not so abstract. So I see that creative work happening among a community of people, but I also see this as you all learning the art and the dance of advocating for yourselves and really putting your power to use. Like you're tampering with this newfound sort of power, your solar plexus, right? I just kind of see like your personal power really sort of beaming through. So Cancers, that is your reading for November. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want a personal reading with me, you can email me or go to my website. I put all of that stuff in the box below. And I will see you all in December. Love you guys. Bye.